sweet listeners of the Q&R Code podcast. This is Quinn, and over there is oh my gosh, if you could only see her, my most beautiful, curly, red-haired twin, Riley.
You can see her if you follow us on www.youtube.com/@theQ&R Code.
www. is everything. But if you guys don't have the context clues to know it's www, she's allowed to say www. It gets annoying to say it 3 times. Yeah, you could. You really could know. And our YouTube, it's a whole new world. So take a magic carpet ride with us over there. I did. Why did that make me think of? Never mind.
That's what it made everyone think of, Quinn. As you are joining Granny with my heating pad today because I hurt my little back? Yes. I tweaked.
Okay. More and more injuries are being sustained by us and fellow people our age, and mid-20s and early 30s is too young to hurt so bad. You guys, listening back to the last podcast, just so you know, you'll see when it's on my full screen on YouTube, I did light the wood wick candle again, as Riley suspected, crickets, when I held up the mic to the candle. However, the chicks came through clear as day, and that is way more important. They were like, peep, 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 peep. So, I hope you all enjoyed that.
How are they doing this week?
It's amazing how much they grow every day. From when they're so little. Oh my gosh. Yesterday, okay, so one of ours is like 2 days older than the rest of them. And now it has the tiniest. And if you guys haven't handled baby chicks, I wish that for every girl in their lifetime. Like, girls, as I have said on Instagram, girls deserve chicks, and they deserve to raise chicks, and it's part of girlhood, and everyone should experience it. One of them, okay, so most of them have the tiniest now literal bunny tail of a little tail that sprouted, because before it's just like, literally they just have a round little behind, like nothing. No semblance of a tail when they're first born. And then a tiny little cottontail starts to sprout. But our girl that's just a couple days older has the very first little pokings of feathers that are just the little boop, sprouted alfalfa tail out of her butt. It's so cute.
It's so wild as they get actual like flight feathers and stuff, but they're still less than a centimeter big.
They're so tiny, and that's what now all of their wings are developing to the point where they're not just the very soft, the feathery in terms of, it's basically their peach fuzz is like all over their body, but now, and their wings were just made out of that, but now their wings have the teeniest little feathers that you can lift and they splay their, it's magic, honestly. It's so fun, and I love them, and we've been introducing the dogs, and so far so good. Not to say I would close the dogs in there with the chicks and walk away, but they're doing well. Bunny, we did some training time with him this morning. Also, he's so cute, you guys. I wish you could see. I'm going to try to be better about posting more of him on my social media again. But I did training with his breakfast in there with them this morning, and he was doing such a good job of look to the chicks and be curious and then flip his head around to look at me and do a check-in and get rewarded. So everyone's doing really well, which makes me so happy.
The Halloween decorations are starting to come out, and Roger was so brave going by a blow up that was right off of the sidewalk this morning. And as you can imagine, a blow up is not his favorite thing, but he's gotten so brave about it. And there were several. It would be crazy when you're already like a sensitive dog and that people have these like ghost wind socks hanging from the trees, so clearly that's hard for him to tell what's going on, but he wasn't even full hackles. He was trepidatious of it, but he's been exemplary in terms of bravery for this time of year. It's always been a process because he's been a dog that since day one,
he's
taking
scared
him
of his
out
own
on
shadow.
walks into the yard, like if there's a twig sticking up that there's not usually, it's like, what is that? So I'm proud of the progress we've made there. He did, when we turned around the corner, there was like a little pig devil statue, like it's like it has like demon wings and horns on this little pig statue, and he like jumped out of his skin but then reached out his nose and sniffed and was like, okay, guess we don't have to be scared about that, but God.
They're so funny. That's honestly such a great training idea, is I should trailer up the equine and take them to a neighborhood, because we don't live in a neighborhood. Imagine that would be such good desensitization for them, to be around all that floating
like,
and flapping and big
people
stuff.
With the crazy mechanical, like huge, I don't even know if you would call it a statue. What are they called? The animatronic, like Kmart things.
Yeah, that's what they're called. That would be such good equine desensitization, but it's so good for all. That's the thing is, gosh, animals are so much alike. Animal training is so much alike. Imagine if you were a person and you had never been taken around any of that stuff. How the first time you said, I'm sure that it's hard to even conceive of, but think about like Kimmy Schmidt's, what's that show called?
The Unbreakable Kimmy
The
Schmidt.
Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, being a mole woman, being in a bunker for so many years and then coming out into the real world and being like, what is happening? Like Elf,
yeah, it's how
being warned about taking the
ass
gum from the
when
rail.
We go into the city and you're like, I'm so overstimulated right now.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny, like reflecting back on my early days in Denver. And again, I always say Denver, but I've never truly lived in Denver. Like, that's never been my area code. I've always been on the outskirts and like a little farther away, just part of the Denver metro area. There was nothing happening where I lived other than car thievery. So I will say that. Other than literally try to attack me more than taking my truck multiple times. No. But I seriously would step out of the car and, like, first of all, purse like clung to the side. Second of all, keys wolverined between my knuckles and a full hydro flask, and like actually head on a swivel, like checking so thoroughly. When I started living in Denver and was living alone, I every night, like, obviously lock the bolt, what's it called, the deadbolt and the handle, and would put the biggest bucket of clangy, noisy stuff right up against in front of the door. Also have a chair like wedged up against the handle, and keep a knife
tripwire booby trap,
literally. Tar in front of the door.
No. Would it be so crazy if I put on sunglasses right now? For some reason, I feel like I'm gonna get a light-triggered migraine. It's beautiful natural light coming into my house, but I'm feeling very visually sensitive to it right now.
Future's so bright you need shades. I would say go for it.
Okay.
Oh no. Acetaminophen?
Acetaminophen.
I haven't seen that. I have heard, obviously, of the reference multiple times, but I haven't seen the clip of. How come we haven't thought of a nomenclature for president, but that makes it sound like President or something?
Nailed it.
Is there one?
but anybody that is a migraine girly can appreciate when you will be feeling completely fine, like 100% just going about your day, and then before like an aura starts, before the headache starts, there's just a feeling in your brain, and like for me specifically on my left side, usually behind my eyes, sort of feeling where it's not painful yet, it's not impacting your vision, but it's just the tickle that you're like, oh, I know what this could be.
It's so hard. I mean, I guess it's not really that hard for me to imagine, but I a little bit have trouble imagining people that have migraines without aura, because I've always had the aura where if you have no clue what we're talking about, first of all, say your blessings, because hell on earth is being a chronic migraine haver. But I always have been someone who has got aura since we were super young, started getting migraines like whatever, 11 or something. I always, like, even, I know what you mean, right? But even before you get the true aura of the zigzaggy, like shooting crazy stuff, I always will get a blurred little, like, there's a dot that I'm like, okay,
it's almost
winter
like,
is coming.
Yeah, like if you looked
Batten down the hatches
at the sun or something bright, and then you look away, but you have a lingering spot that pops up, and then you're...
I would genuinely say my greatest anxiety in life is when I did actually look at something bright and turn away, but I'm not sure. I'm like, wait, it's not like I just looked at the sun, but I am in light. We have such light triggered and light sensitive migraines, hence the sunglasses. But when I look at that and look away, and I won't have thought, like, it doesn't seem like I'm looking at the brightest thing, but oh my gosh, truly my worst anxiety is the feeling of a migraine coming on. It's absolutely horrible. So sorry, Rye, and thanks, you're so brave. Keep drinking your water in our most beautiful glasses from the Sawdust Festival that Riley and I had the privilege. I wish we could cling. Cheers. Cling. You know what I love and I want to talk partially about in this episode? Right, maybe we'll start here. I wanted to talk a little bit about investing in yourself in like ways like this. Like, functional art truly makes my life better in so many ways. I think if you're someone who, even if you don't feel necessarily like a creative in the sense that you're maybe not an artist that paints or whatever, I still think so many people, my clients, of course, talk to me about creativity and art all the time because I'm making art on their bodies. And so often, my clients that come in the coolest, funkiest outfit, such cool pairing, a very cool vintage thrifted purse, they're reading an interesting book, whatever it may be, and they'll be like, yeah, I'm not creative at all, but I'm so glad, like, I love art, but I'm just not creative. I'm like, you are creative. Look at you.
You're creative, you're just not talented.
Yeah, you have no skills. You're creative nonetheless. No, I just think people will get that twisted, and I'm like, you do not have to be a Picasso to be a creative. And if you're someone who's interested in art, I think you're probably kind of creative to a degree. I'm just, the more in my life, and it's not like about buying. It's about, slowly collecting things over time or making things over time. But oh my gosh, the way this bright orange glass with the most trippy, cool, other like twisted artwork, I don't know how to even describe it. It's just these beautiful like exploding daisies and anemones in this hand-blown glass. It makes my day feel so much more passionate than just drinking water out of a clear glass. And hey, we can romanticize anything, and I'm not saying stop what you're doing and go buy more stuff, but me, the tattoo artist, is like,
investments and collections in your life.
Support artists.
Yeah, just think about big picture rather than convenience, I would say, because you can go to TJ Maxx and pick up a set of 4 glasses, and that will suit your need. But if you can hold off and make do with what you have, and then when you are in a situation with an art fair or something, invest in one glass that really does it for you, I feel like that is so much more of long-term payoff, not only for your
Mm-hmm.
own joy and whatnot, but also just continuing to support artists. And I think that's funny you brought that up, because I was just thinking this morning, I keep my makeup brushes in this little pewter mug that my grandma had. She had a little pewter collection that she just used as display items, but I don't really necessarily vibe with that design style. I don't want just like a shelf of, I think that's a little more old school, a shelf of china, a shelf of pewter, things that are there as decoration. I like functional items in my life, especially living in a smaller house. I'm like, I can't even accommodate something like that. But having my little makeup brushes in it is so fun that instead of just, again, having like a plastic cup, that I'm thinking, I'm just calling out TJ Maxx in particular because I have gone there when you're like, I need something for organizing this. But if
Totally.
you collect like a little cigar box, or again, a vintage find. Brayden once brought me home that it was just like out on a free table. Sometimes people set up around like our neighborhoods free tables of just stuff to grab. That's this tin that's for peanut nougat, and it's like blue and white checkered, and it's just kind of funky and different. And it just is so much more meaningful to me.
Yes.
Just those unique objects. There's also a lot of pressure to have such a cultivated aesthetic of like, what are the 3 words that describe your style and whatnot. And I feel like that's productive to consider and like interrogate what are the things that I'm drawn to and whatnot. But then I also feel like that can kind of niche you down and push you like, oh, I should be buying things like this that like fit into this subcategory. And that's when design can be so boring. I was talking about it with my coworkers the other day. It's just so predictable, certain southern homes. It's just like, if you're a wealthy kind of southern house, you can already start to picture what that vibe might look like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say it's not beautiful and there aren't elements to pull from, but if you don't infuse it with your own individuality, then it's just like, okay, want.
Totally. I think, like you said, it makes me think of my container store days. And oh my gosh, like, so expensive to buy acrylic plastic bins. And I'm grateful,
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
crazy.
so I'm grateful because they're investments that I was lucky enough to have, like, my mom has helped buy some of those containers and stuff for us, so I'm super grateful, and I don't plan on getting rid of them. But I a little bit, it's not like I live with this terrible regret, but the truth is I do regret it a little bit because they never attracted me. I was never excited about them, and I see it for like certain degree. Even then I'm like, oh no, in the kitchen you can store stuff in cool stoneware and that type of thing that I would be so much more into. But I do see it more like, I like that for my pasta and my protein powder and my crackers, that I have some of those like airtight containers. But I wish that I had invested less in that. First of all, the monetary aspect, like going once in a while to an antique or a thrift store, you can find the basket that I had my eggs in last week on my countertop right here. That basket I found for less than $2 at Goodwill, which is, it's a nice, sweet basket, woven basket. And so much of what I store in those types of tubs and containers could have been stored in things that spark joy for me. And to be honest, some of the things I see them every day, like my skincare, is stored within some acrylic containers that every day I'm like, this does not make me happy to look at. Like, I don't like the way it looks, but it is what it is. I made this investment. I'm going to continue to live with it for now. I just think we are, unless you're a nomad, you're probably someone who lives with stuff. Like, there's stuff in your house. You need to organize to a degree. And I appreciate, like, Marie Kondo, you're the queen. And you are
Kondo
awesome.
is crazy.
Marie
Oh.
Kondo. People do a little bit call her, like, not Maria, but like Maria.
Okay.
It's like, anyway, she's awesome, and I love her theory behind the whole, like, intentional greeting the household, thanking your stuff. But if I was doing the Marie Kondo method, would those containers be sparking joy for me? No, they would not be sparking joy. And there's something that's in my home, and I want what's in my home for the most part. Yeah, maybe the toilet plunger is not going to spark joy, but I tell you what, I'd still rather have a toilet plunger with a wooden handle and well-made plunger than one of the plastic gross ones that's stored in another plastic dusty thing next to your toilet.
Not trying to brag, but it has been ages since I've had to use a plunger.
Same. But I think you have more experience in your lifetime than I do.
I'm not gonna lie, in my childhood, I was familiar. But I definitely agree, and I also think I'm beating a bit of a dead horse with this topic, but I think it's worth bringing up that it is a process. I also think sustainability and being deliberate matters, and I have been going through that experience specifically in my closet where I'm like, I am in touch with the fact that I have some cravings for some pieces outside of these. Some of these items are not really what I would define as like me. However, it's clothing that I own and is usable, and we don't have to live every second feeling like I think that comes from the pressures of consumerism to be like so frustrated that my things, like acting like your things are you. We like when it sparks joy, and I appreciate the Kondo method for that, but I think we can also do ourselves a disservice if we too much cling to that style of thinking, because then it's easy to have that perpetual cycle of bringing in and putting out instead of being able to sit with the fact that this isn't the perfect white tee. However, it's a white t-shirt that there's no reason to move on from other than it's not my most favorite thing of all time. And I know I'm bringing up clothes because that for me specifically is an area where I love style, I love fashion, and I have seen how much people can go their whole lives thinking, okay, this piece, like, oh, but this is actually a wardrobe essential. This is part of my capsule collection, and with this piece, and you can tell yourself that till the cows come home, but what can you actually do with the things you have?
Your capsule wardrobe becomes never worn because your hangers are pushed so tight together and things are falling off and you can't see anything. Like, you need to, here's where I think there's nuance, because I so agree with you, Riley, and I think that that's where it's fun, and you get to decide, I am a creative today, and I'm going to be creative, and how can I style this in a way that does feel like me, even if this as a base doesn't feel like the perfect white tee. How can I make this? How can I layer this? How can I add jewelry, accessorize, do a different hairstyle, whatever it may be? Or is it that you have just way too much to begin with, and you're not wearing this stuff, and it's crowding your life and crowding your brain in your closet, and you need to separate from it because it's so not you that it's like, oh, this is bringing energy down in my home. So I think there's that line, because sometimes we do need to let go of things, of course.
Yeah. And knowing yourself and not trying so hard to like fit into what works for other people. I just saw a clip the other day of Nara Smith being like, I do not own sweatpants. That does not put me in the mindset to achieve what I need to every day. And I'm like, okay, I can achieve what I need to achieve in my sweatpants. So that's you. And you go live your little fantasy that is clearly effective for her. But I wasn't like, okay, there's my call. Getting rid of the sweats. I need to have the option to feel so comfy, cozy down boots sometimes, and have my little nighties and some things like that that feel the fantasy in those moments, but is not a substitution for when I'm wishing for a sweat set. So I'm not going to go and just get rid of all of those. And especially when you think about your actual lifestyle, I kind of disagree with the saying, dress for the job you want. I see that mentality wise where that could come into play, but I think it's a lot more appropriate to dress for the life you have. And I have made that mistake in the past because I'm really drawn to a lot of like street style and more city girl fashion and some like different looks that are stylistically something I'd be into. But then I'm like, okay, girl, you're gonna wear this a couple times a year and sure, get your use out of it. But when I'm making a purchase, it should be because it really fits into my life and it's going to be a daily wear sort of thing. And when you are, dare I say, a horse girl, it's like, yeah, I'm probably going to get a lot more jeans than slacks.
Yeah. That's like when I made a few investments in vintage kitten heels that are beautiful
so
and
cute.
Adorable to look at, and
I hate them.
First of all, hate my life when I'm wearing them. Second of all, don't wear them. They do come,
yeah.
I will say, probably once to twice a year. I enjoy them. Therefore, I do keep a couple of pairs. They do make me happy to look at. I've already invested in them, but now I know it would be silly for me to continue that collection because, yes, I love watching Matilda Djerf frolic around fucking Sweden in her business casual with her adorable vintage heels, and that's not my life.
Not
and I also don't want
me
the
more
grime.
Cowboy than you, but like Quinn, her clothes have to be able to sustain hay, chicken shit, and like dogs ripping them apart. So
yep, I wear only Teflon.
Teflon and Gore-Tex.
Carhartt. I meant to say Carhartt. Carhartt, do you hear me? I wear you. I love you.
Right? Yeah, my Wranglers always keep me nice and protected from the elements.
I love my Wranglers. I love my Wrangler butt. It does drive me nuts.
Can we
What
have
else
a
do I
moment
love?
of
Ariat
silence
cowboy
for
boots.
Quinn's Wrangler booty between her little chaps on our Instagram earlier this week? Thank
you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Transitioning to me getting what I like to call white girl wasted, where I P.S.
Oh, really had to hold that sip of tea in. What in the world is she gonna describe as white girl wasted? I'm scared.
I made myself my little pumpkin spice beverage. And
okay.
to report back, so good, you guys. This is why I gotta save the money from the coffee shops and just make stuff at my house, because I was like, so delicious. By the way, if you want little pumpkin cold foam to go with your drink, all you do is add some of that same pumpkin syrup recipe I told you about earlier to a little bit of heavy whipping cream and use your whisk to
Yeah, well, I don't
whisk
have
that
my
up.
zhuzher anymore, so this is me with a spoon. Zioy, zioy.
Oh, you can also, if you don't have one of those,
Shake it.
put it in a mason jar, screw it up, and
That's
give it the old one too.
That's my favorite thing in the morning, and Sean's always like, "You're disturbing the dogs," because I won't lie, once in a while they do bark. I always go, while I do it. Thank you.
Sometimes Raj is lucky enough to get to lick out the jar after I make whipped cream.
Yeah, Bunny is not to that stage yet, because I feel like that would be like Cocaine Bear, and we do not need a Cocaine Bear in the household. Which, by the way, I watched Cocaine Bear. I'll just be really quick. It was so cute. This was a few weeks ago, so feeling like summertime. No, not Cocaine Bear. The setup. My friend, it was so sweet. They invited a couple couples over over to their housey, and they had a projector in the backyard, and then they had some cute little lights, and they set out a little spread with different, so you had a cup, and then you could put your little snacks in your cup, and they had some drinks. I did have my first vitamin water for the first time in a century. And it was so cute, and they had blankets, and they had little chairs on their lawn, and we got to cuddle and watch Cocaine Bear, which I would not describe that movie as cute at all. But it was a very enjoyable time.
That does
Back
sound
to
enjoyable. Have to say, not really on my must-watch list. But you know what I am really craving for fall is watching the Winnie the Pooh movie, I think circa 2012.
Yeah.
It's so
comedic genius.
So good. Hilarious. This is no less than the fourth time we've brought it up on the podcast. Genuinely one of my favorite movies.
Not any. Can you not? I cannot. You cannot?
You
no,
cannot
I cannot not.
Who's there? If you know, you know.
There's 4 people that need to be taken out of the hole. They have one long rope as the rescue rope, snip it into 4 pieces, put it over, no one can reach.
Piglet is such an icon. Also, the Baxen. What's a Bax?
Yeah. Everyone there's illiterate other than Owl.
Being white girl wasted, had my PSL, got in the car, turned on Swag 2 by Justin Bieber. You guys, this album has yet again me with an unoriginal opinion where I'm like, surprisingly, I have actually been really having a good time listening to the new Justin Bieber. That I look on his page, 3rd artist in the world on Spotify right now. I'm like,
us with Bruno Mars.
Yeah, just having the most like mainstream popular opinions ever. Sorry, a punk rock girl can only be honest, and sometimes we like the same stuff as anything. Me identifying as punk is like not a bit.
Riley wears a black shirt and black pants and sunglasses inside, and it's like, I'm a punk.
Has this size of tattoos.
Yeah.
I'm like, obviously I'm just not like other girls, which by the way, I am growing up into my tattooed lifestyle where I've been feeling our arm is a little bare, and you and I need to get another project going.
Every day am back and forth between the arm we share. Honestly, my life would be so much better if we were conjoined twins.
Hot take.
I don't mean that. I don't mean that, but then you would have to be with me and vice versa. So I don't know, maybe I wouldn't like it. Am I the brains behind the operation? If so, yes. You're the school brains. I make the decisions, call the shots brains.
You would like that.
Yeah, I would like that.
So I'm in the car. I'm bumping I'm on my way to yoga yet again. This is the whole fantasy of being white girl wasted, where I'm like, I'm just driving, the windows are down, bumping JB
wearing spiritual gangster.
I used to drive a Yukon. No, I wasn't, but I was wearing a little bit of that Lululemon, so might as well.
Yes.
But then I got into my yoga class, and I was thinking, What a pleasure. This is going to be a good 75 minutes of relaxation. I decided to take a restorative class. If you're not familiar, it's just a very slow practice with the support of props. So you have blocks, bolsters, blankets, straps, all of these different
Strap-ons.
assistance, strap-ons, harnesses that just make it so you're supposed to surrender, if you will, and not be working out like in a yoga class that's a flow base that you're trying to build that heat. This is just for supported
The mental
postures.
and the
So,
physical. Very much.
yeah. So, in my mind, of course, it's like that's a relaxing time. Then I kind of had a existential spiral during class where I felt so uncomfortable, and you're holding poses for like 5 minutes at a time. It's not just a little bit longer. That is a long time to think about like being totally still. And I had taken a few, like 3 yoga classes leading up to this, so I hadn't been taking for a while, but now I'm getting back into the rhythm, and I just couldn't believe how hard it was for me to settle. I was really trying to get in touch with just following my breath, emptying your mind, getting in that meditative state, and I was like, wow, the more I am trying for this, the more my thoughts are just spiraling out of control, not even to the point of like having thoughts that are about what's going on in your day. Those were there too, but I was like, okay, I'm like getting psychedelic. Like I was starting to actually trip out where I'm having that spiral of just now intrusive thoughts and some things that I'm like, oh, that's interesting and creative, and somewhere I'm like, okay, not me actually having like upsetting and intrusive thoughts during yoga, and just trying to bring it back in and focus on that meditative state. And I don't want to get too yogi on you because I think that the language and everything, of course, can come across in a very particular and often appropriative way. However, I think that something that's really cool about getting in touch with Eastern practices, like I've talked about reading a lot of Zen Buddhist texts, and the meditation has been something that I have not been like super consistent about, but think is a very beneficial practice. But I just was like, wow, okay, that was kind of a crazy check-in with myself to realize that that was such a challenging class for me. And it's so funny because it's like physically it's not challenging. Like it's simply anyone could practice. You can modify it however you need to. You're just using props. But I was like, I am struggling through this class just being able to like be present right now. And I am curious about Quinn's take on this too, but I felt like this could just be, a moment in time because it's been coming off of the work week and stressful times globally in our country, specifically politically. All of these things do make it harder to just bring it back into the present moment. But I felt like also kind of my rewiring of my brain chemistry from all the screen time.
Well, I think that when you really consider it, and some people have a consistent meditation practice, I know I for one do not, in the sense of actually in stillness doing nothing else. I feel like I meditate through a lot of things, but it's while something else is happening. So I feel like that was probably the first time in a long time that you have been fully surrendering, laying down in maybe silence. They probably had music on, but they are not super stimulated. It's not any sort of pop music. It's like sounds, just very chill.
It was like crystal sound bowls the whole time.
Exactly. So that, which already that's kind of like they start to hypnotize you, and then doing nothing truly, like, yes, you're in this physical position, and that is a component that makes it that much more intense than just laying in a shavasana, for example. But fully surrendering, your eyes are not being stimulated by anything. Your brain has to actually just give in and kind of let go, because you have nothing. You're not turning to scroll on your phone. You're not listening to pop music. You're not moving quickly. Usually even something like a workout class or like yoga, that can be a big step for people away from technology, away from a screen, even that. But there's the movement. You're constantly moving. You are accomplishing something by getting your heart rate up, breaking a sweat, loud music a lot of the time. Whereas you go to a restorative yoga class, it's like a detox. And so I think that makes a lot of sense for you to go through something that feels kind of severe like that, because how often is it, other than sleep, literally, in your day, in your life, that you are having that type of like radical stillness? It's so rare. So I have always thought restorative classes were intense, but I think taking it now, even more so than doing it 5 years ago, I would think it's more intense because I am more online and more, dependent on my screen. And Riley and I are on that journey, but it has its ups and downs. And even when I'm laying down enjoying myself at night and trying to be in stillness and surrender, I will have a show going, or at the least you're reading, so I think it's really cool that you did that, and it makes me feel inspired about it. I think definitely keep it up, because our brain, I think, benefits a lot from having the stillness, but it's so uncomfortable when it's fed with dopamine hits so often throughout the day.
Yeah. I definitely want to try to incorporate those practices more. I'm glad that I went, because I'm honestly floored how uncomfortable that was. And just to leave you with a last little yogi sentiment that I have experienced myself, though, that I think having a practice does reveal surprising things to you. That's something that I've always really liked about yoga, that I think, again, we need to appreciate that this is coming from a culture that then has been co-opted and shifted in a lot of ways that deserves examining, but something that I have still gotten a lot of benefit out of. Like, the westernized practice of yoga is encouraging of checking in emotionally, mentally, along with the physicality that I haven't always felt, even though I see a huge benefit from lifting weights and going to the gym and doing other forms of like sports and exercise. It hasn't always been framed to me in the way that incorporates a more body, mind, spirit, whatever spirituality means to you. I think I have been someone that hasn't always spent enough time there, because it feels, since I'm not traditionally religious, like something that's less available to me. But as I have grown up more, I think I've felt a lot more confident in the fact that spirituality can be experienced in many different ways, and especially my relationship with others, either other people or plants and animals, and all of those things are really important, but those are still external. And having that moment of being a very internal practice, I was like, okay, So we have work to do here, and that's okay. Just having that acceptance that that was how that felt, and moving forward, that's information. But maybe I will leave you with the encouragement to stick through those uncomfortable moments and just recognize that's how you're feeling right then, but that doesn't mean you have to rush out of it and try to pacify. I think that was part of what was uncomfortable because a lot of the times when you're feeling that moment of thinking in your head and you don't want to think that anymore, you can just scroll on your phone and you will be completely pacified.
Yeah, I went through a similar experience in terms of like having to breathe through the pain when I was tattooed a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember if I said on the pod that I got a beautiful color tattoo. I'm so happy with, and it's been so nice
so
seeing it healed. But it was several hours of tattooing. It was a lot, and there are some people, everyone takes tattoo pain differently, and my clients amaze me because I feel like most of my clients, they're like acting cool as a cucumber while they get tattooed. For me, I would say mostly I do not feel cool as a cucumber while I'm getting tattooed. I mostly am pretty aware of what's happening, especially after, once we get like 3 hours deep, then after that, it's like, okay, I start, I'm really feeling it. So the last few hours of my tattoo, and it was on a sensitive spot, and I was really trying to embrace my breath work and meditation because I knew otherwise I would be flinching. It was on the lower leg, which can already be just a twitchy spot, and it's important to me to do the best I can to sit well for my artist. I very much so empathize, obviously, with how challenging it is to give a good tattoo. It hurts the artist's body very much. I have a lot of pain in my body from tattooing, and
sometimes once that like a twitch starts and it's so involuntary, it's just like
the mentality to come back from that, it takes a lot. So though I still had several twitches after that, if I hadn't have been focused, I would have been just like leg twitching out the wazoo. But me truly stepping into like, this is my responsibility and I am going to meditate through this. I really focused on my breath work and relaxing my body and letting go, and knew like, this pain is going to continue till we're done. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tap out, and not in a way, hey, that's a whole nother conversation with tattoos, because there have been times that I've told my client, we need to do a second session. This doesn't make sense for us to continue. But in this case, I knew it's like I was sitting still perfectly well and knew we could both accomplish it. We both wanted, it was very doable within the day. And so I knew we're finishing this tattoo and I have to get through it, and I'm not going to be kicking and screaming through it. I have to breathe through it, and was taking just very, very deep, slow breaths and working on my mindset. And it is amazing what you can go through, and mentally and physically. Obviously, people go through a lot worse, but I think about, tattoos for all they are with art and supporting people. I know for a lot of people, it's a really intentional process too, in terms of the enduring pain and working on their mental state, and just embracing that part of it. I think in life we're going to go through physical pain, we go through a lot of mental pain, and I think even though what you went through was uncomfortable, I'm sure that you probably agree that it was time much, much more well spent than if you had been doom scrolling for an hour in an uncomfortable position and your eyes and neck hurt, so we kind of we have the privilege of picking our battles in life, and I think doing something like that. I've been thinking a lot about yoga too, and I'm so proud of you that you've been back on this kick, and I miss the consistent yoga so much, especially in a studio, which I told Riley, like, I would so love to be in a studio, but I've been practicing more so, even if it's just like I've been having it as a goal to do a daily downward dog, like do, even if it's literally just that and I only have time for actually 30 seconds, or that's how it feels, I will just pedal my feet in a downward dog, because even what that does for my body and the pain I feel, like, it's so, just having your mind and body connection, I think, is such an important thing in life, and we can get so stiff mentally and physically, and trying to work through that stuff is really important, because the days keep coming and the years keep coming, and then it gets worse.
And they don't stop coming.
Harder. Yeah. And if you don't address it, it takes a lot more to work out.
And again, yoga teacher Riley says, you can always return to your breath. But that's so true, that no matter what you're doing, whether you're in a class or sitting at the computer, you can always take a second to focus on your breath. Breath work is incredibly powerful. I mean, we have so many examples of how that is, and I feel like that's part of, honestly, why I started tripping out, because we did a breathwork series that I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a relaxing breath, but for me it was like a very intense breath series of breathing in for an inhale for like fewer counts than holding, then breathing out for more counts and like holding at the bottom. So you're doing like very deep exhalations with shallower inhalations. And breath work is in fact so influential over your body and nervous system that pregnant women are not supposed to do that style of breath work, because it can really impact just the signals that your body is sending. And there are breaths that can help with like calming, there's breath that can be more invigorating, but it is really interesting that you can feel like you're tripping psychedelic vibes from breath and from stillness with like the movement in certain positions. And when we were in a position that was kind of more focusing on the hip flexors, that felt a lot more intense, not even like a stretch, but just emotionally intense. Your body does hold certain feelings and messages to yourself, and it's very worthwhile to experience and explore. That is what I will leave you with today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Quinn, for being here with me and always making me feel so supported and validated in all areas. It's just so reassuring. It's nice to have a buddy like you.
I feel so supported by you too, and we're lucky to have a space to be vulnerable, and life is good, and today is the best day ever.
Well, this is the best day of your life. Make it a great day or not.
The choice is yours. Thank you so much, Q&R code. Bye-bye.